Alright guys, Momo Nishimiya is one of the best supports in the game. I dare say maybe the best support in the game. I don't know, it's debatable because a lot of people are going to be like, Yaga is amazing, which he is. He is. I really don't know who is better, but Momo is absolutely insane. So today we're going to talk about what skills you want to upgrade first on her, what recollections you want to run on her, and then of course what teams she fits well on. So starting with going over her kit and what she can do. Her characteristic is if own HP is 60% or below, grants evasion status to self for 2 times, which just helps her survivability, which is actually pretty nice. Her skill 1 is called Wind Blade, deals 100% ranged jujutsu damage to the selected enemy, increases the selected enemy's damage received by 15.4% for 2 turns 3 times. That's actually nice that even her skill 1 has a debuff on the enemy, which is going to allow you to do more damage. That's kind of crazy that every skill pretty much she has is a buff or a debuff, which is really good. Her skill 2 is called Tailwind. It increases all allies damage by 41.7% for 2 turns and increases all allies break damage by 20% for 2 turns. At level 10, it's 68% and 20%. That's still really dang good. Her skill 3 is Reconnaissance, increases all allies critical hit rate by 30% for 2 turns, increases all allies critical hit damage by 20% for 2 turns, and then decreases all enemies critical hit resistance by 30% for 2 turns. Really good. And then at level 10, of course, the percentages change a little bit there as well, making these first 2 even stronger for critical hit rate and what critical hit damage and whatnot for allies. Like really good. Her ultimate, I'll Teach You a Lesson, deals 420% ranged jujutsu damage to all enemies for 6 hits. So decent damage, like not the most, but not the least, 798% at level 10. She is a support character, so the fact that she does that is kind of crazy. And then decreases the selected enemy's ultimate count gauge by 1 and then stuns all enemies. It becomes a 90% chance to stun at level 10. That's crazy. An AoE stun that almost has a 100% chance to stun is really good. So I think Nishimiya is absolutely insane. And then for auto skill, she doesn't have anything, but that doesn't matter because she has the evasion up here, right? So much good stuff to talk about with this character. One of the best buffers in the game. You are absolutely going to want Momo if you can. In my opinion, she's the #1 pull. Even out of, like, I know 3 characters are releasing. I know we have Itadori. I know we have Hollow Purple Gojo. In my opinion, she is still the #1 pull. That being said, Hollow Purple Gojo is still very important for the upcoming tower. So yeah, it's a hard choice, but she is still very good. So this is her build guide. Her skill upgrade priority and materials. Let's start with materials. Precious gemstone, jewelry, and decorative ornament are the 2 that you're going to want to farm out the most to help upgrade her grade as quickly as possible. And then for her skills, her priority #1 is going to be skill 2. You want to upgrade that first because that is her best buff skill. Then you want to upgrade her ultimates. That way she actually uses it in auto mode later when auto mode gets updated. And then you want to upgrade her skill 3, which I know a lot of people might not have thought skill 3 would be this low on the priority list considering what it does, but it is. And then you want to upgrade her skill 1. So skill 2 is the main priority. It's a very good skill. You're going to be using it the most. Then you want to make sure when auto mode comes around that it picks the skills with the highest investment. So then you want to make sure her ultimate is actually going to be used when it comes up on auto mode. And then skill 3 is going to be your other buff skill. You'll use this like right before an ally's ultimate or something like that to give them extra crit rate, crit damage, and lower the enemy's crit resist to allow you to hit that really big damage. So you'll be buffing most of the time with your skill 2, and then you will use your skill 3 like right before an ultimate is the idea. So a very good skill guide right here. I agree with this a lot. This all comes from the community Discord, by the way. Shout out to the community Discord. And we're just going to go through it and we're going to take a look. I'll tell you guys if I agree or disagree, if I would change anything, and what recollections and or skills I would change. As I said, the skill order they have here is perfect. That is exactly the skill order I would go for. Now, as for recollections, we have the summonable recollections or memories, whatever you want to call them, and we have the free-to-play ones. The summonable ones, completely agree with. There's going to be some other recollections that come out further down the line in Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade, but they're not out just yet, so I'm not going to go over those. But there are better recollections technically than some of these that you could put on this character in the future. And then free-to-play recollections, we do have these two. I do have another suggestion for a free-to-play recollection, but these two are actually still fairly decent free-to-play recollections. So with all that said, let's start with Unity from top to bottom, and then we'll work our way through these recollections, and I will let you guys know which one is priority number 1 to equip if you have it, and which one is bottom of the priority list. So Unity from top to bottom, I'll just start by saying right now, is your priority number 1. It is one of the best recollections in the game right now. I'd say top 3 recollection, very, very good. And we're about to be, are we about to be post adjustment on this? I think, were they changing this? They might not have been changing it yet. I don't remember. I think they were though. When command skill or ultimate skill is activated, increases all allies' ultimate skill gauge charge rate by 30% for 2 turns. And then at limit break level 1, if the selected enemy is in break status when attacking, fills on ultimate skill gauge by 200. I think they were changing this, and the only change is it limits that to 1 time, so it's kind of a nerf on it. But yeah, that is a very, very good recollection for Nishimiya, because giving all allies ultimate skill gauge charge rates is going to be insanely good, and she's already a support character, so it makes sense to have a support recollection on her, and then filling her own ultimate skill gauge as well is going to be helpful for getting her ultimate. So this is definitely, like, far in every way one of the best recollections you can run on her. Technically, I said it was the best. Technically, there is one more in my opinion that's like on par with this one, and that is called the Rest for Adults. I think this one's about on par as well. I really like this one. I have been in love with this recollection since I got it on global. So when command skill or ultimate skill is activated, recovers own HP by 25% and fills on ultimate skill gauge by 200. That's good, but the main reason I really like this recollection is this part right here. So at limit break level 1, at the start of the 4th turn from the start of battle, increases all allies damage dealt by 25% for 3 turns. I think that just works really, really well with this Momo, because she is obviously buffing the damage overall of allies. Like, that's her main thing, is buffing the damage. So to be able to run Rest for Adults, which is going to increase damage even further, I think that just fits really well with her kit. Another recollection you can run is Mutual Trust. So this one, when command skill is activated, decreases all allies damage received by 30%, and then at the start of battle, limit break level 1, recovers all allies cursed energy by 10. This is probably one of my least favorites, but if you need a good defensive recollection that you can run on a support character, right, this is a decent support defense recollection that also gives cursed energy, so it's not a terrible recollection, but probably one of my least favorites in this recommended list. I probably wouldn't run it too often. And then last but not least, we have Imaginary Youth, which is the end of the Gotcha recollections. So when command skill or ultimate skill is activated, recovers own cursed energy by 15, 4-turn cooldown for this recollection, which is part of what makes it really, really good, right? And then at the start of the battle, or sorry, not at the start of the battle, at the start of the 6th turn from the start of battle, increases all enemies Jujutsu damage received by 10% for 2 times. If the enemy is afflicted by poison, increases the enemy's Jujutsu damage by 20%. They probably won't be afflicted by poison, so this one also at the bottom. Not one of the better recollections that I would recommend running. So top 2 recollections, I would go for Unity from top to bottom. I would go for Rest for Adults, and then I would probably go Mutual Trust, and then the last one I would go for is the Imaginary Youth. That's the order I would go in based on the recollections you have. So if you have one of those top 2 recollections, those are the ones you should equip to Nishimiya first before you equip either of those bottom 2 that I just talked about. Now, as for Gotcha recollections, we have In Excellent Shape. You get this one from the Formidable Foe battle, right? And it's a pretty decent one. When command skill is activated, fills on ultimate skill gauge by 260. That's just going to help Nishimiya get her ultimate faster and be able to support with her ultimate. At the start of each wave, decreases own taijutsu damage received by 25% for 3 turns, which just gives her more survivability, honestly. It's really not a bad recollection. It's fairly decent as far as free-to-play recollections go. The other one is Death by Wasp. This is one of my favorite SR recollections in the game because it is free-to-play and you can limit break it to level 5 very easily. It is very, very good. So when command skill or ultimate skill is activated, increases all allies damage dealt by 10% for 2 turns. It becomes 15% for 2 turns when you limit break it to level 3, which is once again easy to accomplish. And then at limit break level 1, at the start of the turn, if own HP is 50% or below, recovers own cursed energy by 20 as well, which can be useful for giving her back her buffing skills and stuff like that if she is running out of cursed energy. And then last but not least, another recommendation that was not on the list. This is a recommendation of mine, and it's not going to be useful in every scenario, but if you happen to run Kyoto School characters like Mechamaru or other, other characters down the line. Kamo, who is apparently going to be on Nishimiya's banner, but not featured, and he'll have his own featured banner later, maybe? I don't know. It's weird what they're doing. Anyways, this is a good recollection for this. Okay, so when command skill or ultimate skill is activated, it increases own jujutsu damage by 20% for 3 turns. That's okay on a support character, like that's not that great, but the real effect is this. At the start of the battle, increases all allies jujutsu damage by 10%. The more characters from Jujutsu High that there are at the start of the wave, the higher the jujutsu damage increase. That's the really good part. Right, because you can increase jujutsu damage by quite a bit if you are running a all Kyoto school team. So just keep that in mind. It's a decent free-to-play recollection that you could run on Nishimiya that is going to buff the overall damage of your team if you are lacking other recollections in general. Now, going back to the guide, let's talk about the breakdown really quickly. So she is a top tier support character that has 2 buff skills and pairs well with any attackers realistically. Yes, and she pairs with any buffers really well too. Only need to stack twice to reach full buff for high % damage and break damage with skill 2. Deals AoE damage, stun, and guaranteed lower enemy ultimate counter with her ultimate, which is insane, right? Applies damage received, increased debuff even with skill 1, which costs 0 cursed energy. Has decent survivability, will dodge enemy attack for 2 times when health is below a certain amount. Skill 2 buff for most attackers, but for some who crit easily or benefit extra from crit, skill 3 can be better, like Itadori. And then with all skills, apply buff and debuff. She does very well in auto mode too. Yeah, she does insanely well in auto mode. She's just a very, very good character all the way around. Very well balanced kit, insanely good. And then we have some team recommendations here. So we have buff Heaven, right? Buff character, buff character, buff character, and then Gojo, and it works pretty well. And then we have 2 buff characters here, and then 2 attacker characters, 2 of your strongest attacker characters. So that's the idea. 2 peak characters, peak doubles. So you have your peak Yaga, peak Nishimiya, and then peak Gojo, peak Yuta. 2 very strong attackers, 2 very strong buffers. These teams are actually really good. I agree with these. And then I love what Ace has done with the teams as well. He made a whole separate team page with a bunch of other team recommendations, because honestly, the truth about Nishimiya is there is no set team to run her on. She could be ran on pretty much any freaking team you want, because she's just insanely good, right? So here's a couple of other team ideas so you guys can see. You saw the first 2, peak doubles, buff Heaven. We also have blue for Gojo, where you can run the Geto if you have Geto. You can run Nishimiya, and you can run Kaido here. Kaido could eventually be switched out with another blue character down the line, but I think Kaido is the choice right now on global. Crit taijutsu meta, yeah, you run these 2 characters, Itadori, and then any taijutsu attacker. Once again, Toji coming in the future potentially would be very good here. Max damage setup, yeah, this is a lot of buffing right here. Megami, Nishimiya, Yaga, any attacker, yeah, yep. I'm loving the teams. Momo Impact sub, yeah, this one's okay. So if you have one of your support characters, die, obviously she comes in and is able to increase the overall attack of this attacker, allowing them to pop off. And then there's your different attacker options as well that you can run. You can run Hollow Purple Gojo when he comes out, Blue Gojo, Yuta, Nobara, Nanami. I do think those are kind of the better ones. I think you could throw in Green Itadori here as well, because she can buff crit rate and crit damage, as well as lower enemies crit resist, which I think is really good for Itadori as well. So if you wanted to run Green Itadori or Red Itadori, either one really, either one of those characters also work really well with Nishimiya. So that's something I don't think we really, okay, yeah, there is Red Itadori here. I was gonna say, I don't think we really saw Red Itadori on any of these teams. He actually works really well with Nishimiya as well. So it's gonna be hard for people to decide how to pull, because realistically, Nishimiya, Hollow Purple Gojo, and Red Itadori all work really, really well together. So yeah, but that is the build guide for Momo. If you guys enjoyed the video, please consider going down there, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. Peace.